I knew the GameStop thing was going to expose some more capitalist vultures as it went on because, capitalism. So now Robinhood, the app that touts itself as being a tool used to democratize the stock market, has received a cash infusion from its investors of $1 billion with a B. This was after the company blocked purchases of GameStop, AMC, and other stocks after the Reddit-fueled run on those companies that freaked the market out happened. Now, why did they do this? Because the investors who fund Robinhood are themselves heavily invested in the stock market. And they rewarded Robinhood for protecting them from future losses caused by Robinhood's merry band of amateur speculators. Of course, Robinhood's front people are going to deny that's what's going on because they don't want to lose those investors and all their money. And this is why the app is free for us to use. We don't have to pay for it, but somebody pays for it. And the who is very important. See, none of these companies, not Acorns, not Robinhood, none of the traditional investment companies that have established retail investment tools like E-Trade and TD Ameritrade, none of them expect, want, or will allow the little guy who uses their tools to ever make as much money as the people who fund them do. In full disclosure, folks, I have small accounts with Acorns and E-Trades, and they're actually not bad ways to tuck away a little extra money for emergencies if you're not terribly disciplined at saving, because you really don't have to think about it. And that's what I see them as, tools I can use to save a little bit of money. But they really do not democratize the market, and they never will. And they're never going to tell you that. So your cranky Aunt Jackie just did. You're welcome. And another thing, as much as it's great that some people were able to make enough money to deal with some pretty serious expenses like surgeries and student loan debt, the fact that anyone has to gamble on the stock market and hope that they reap a windfall in order to afford these things is the most Hunger Games, Death Race 2021, working class death match, American capitalist thing ever. Honestly, this is not that different from using statistics to walk into a casino in Atlantic City and calculating how to win at blackjack. In casino land, that's usually called card counting. And there's a reason why they'll ban you from playing again if they find out you're doing it, because the house always has to win. The house will never allow you to beat it, even if they use the same statistics to take all of your money. But people are all excited about how regular people organized to beat some hedge fund managers at their own game in the stock market and how that's a threat to capitalism. And I think that's true in the context of how this episode has exposed the lie that capitalism is a system where opportunity is equal. I mean, it clearly is not. But if you think that's exciting, just you wait until I tell you how terrifying labor organizing and a general strike is to the capitalists. Because just so happens, on this day in history, President Andrew Jackson, yes, the racist, genocidal maniac Andrew Jackson, deployed federal troops to crush labor unrest in 1834, which is probably the first time in U.S. history that this happened. So we can add enemy of workers to Jackson's honorifics. When the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal, otherwise known as the C&O Canal, was being built, the C&O Canal Company procured much of the massive labor force they needed to do the work by luring poor immigrants from Germany and Ireland with advertisements promising meat 3 times a day, plenty of bread and fresh vegetables with generous portions of liquor and good wages. That's what the advertisements actually said. All false promises, though, that the thousands of immigrants who answered the call quickly realized when they were subjected to dangerous, backbreaking work, low and frequently withheld wages, insufficient food, and rampant disease. Contractors for different sections of the canal began to exploit the tenuous labor situation by bidding against each other, appealing to different groups of immigrant laborers for the work. And there were no unions at this time as such, but workers tried to use these contractor bids to exert some type of control over their own labor conditions. So they'd fight each other to work for a contractor who promised stable wages or to pay back wages or just to be able to have a job at all. But contractors and the C&O Canal Company continually withheld wages and pitted workers against each other to use the workers to eliminate competition among the contractors, thinking they were getting over on all the workers by keeping the money to themselves and letting the workers fight and kill each other on their behalf. But that didn't work out to the workers' benefit so much because all of the workers continued to riot and demand fair wages and better working conditions and treatment of the company when they weren't fighting each other. So local militia were called in to make arrests from time to time, and there was some calm in those instances, but the continued manipulation and exploitation of the workers by the C&O Canal bosses meant the unrest continued. And that meant that the C&O Canal was not being built. And that meant that the C&O Canal Company was losing money. So C&O Canal Company President John Eaton, close personal friend of Andrew Jackson and his former Secretary of War, called on his buddy, President Jackson, to help him with those unruly workers who wouldn't just obediently subject themselves to exploitation and build that doggone canal. So on January 29th, 1834, Andrew Jackson sent armed federal troops to Williamsport, Maryland, to quell the worker unrest. There was less than 100 soldiers, but it was enough to keep workers from stepping out of line for nearly 2 months, regardless of what the company did. And company president Eaton acknowledged his relief at the soldiers' presence, saying that they made it much easier for him to fire workers without worrying that the others would riot. Not only did Jackson's deployment of federal troops to quell labor unrest on the C&O Canal set a precedent for how capitalists responded to labor organizing and uprisings in the future, but take note that the collusion between private owners and politicians and military might being unleashed against the people, as well as the bosses' manipulation of workers to fight each other so the bosses can profit, is also a precedent set in examining the history of the labor struggles of the C&O Canal. See, the capitalists haven't changed their playbook in how they destroy organized labor and worker solidarity since 1834. So no, folks, we should not be looking to make the stock market more accessible to everyone so maybe more of us can reap a few windfalls like the GameStop folks did. We should be uniting and organizing as working class and poor masses, demanding that our basic human needs are recognized as human rights and are provided for by the government that is supposed to be of the people, for the people, and by the people. We should be demanding that workers control the means of production and share in the profits from it. We should be tearing down this capitalist death trap and building socialism for the good of all humanity. And there is no app on earth that can replace the real life organizing that is required to do that. Follow Luke Mon Nation on patreon.com/Luke Mon Nation for lots of great content.